going on this weekend. The World Series. Will this be the night for Dusty Baker? Will it be the night for the Houston Astros to beat the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series? College football tomorrow with some huge games, especially in the SEC. Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU. We got the NFL on Sunday. We saw what the Eagles did last night. And of course, in just a moment, we're going to talk with Sean Salisbury. We've got a lot to go over right here on If You Don't Like That. So awesome to have you here on this Friday with everything going on. And you want to talk about what a city must be like, getting ready to go off the hook. That would be where Sean Salisbury is in Houston, Texas, as could this be the night for Dusty and the Houston Astros. Sean, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to talk to you. Yeah, with Saturday and Sunday, game 6 and 7 ahead. But after being down 2-1, they have battled back with some great defense, and Verlander finally getting his first one. Thanks for having me on as always, Grant. I don't know how they're going to go win 2 straight in Houston, but listen, the Astros took 2 straight in Philadelphia, so we'll see. But they're facing Framber, who is a ground ball guy. So I'm feeling pretty good about Dusty, and I think the fans are too, after everybody going, oh my gosh, when they were down 2-1 after the 5-home run game with McCullers. But you saw Christian Javier, who's electric, and he's the most talented guy on the staff. Slow that down. And then the bullpen's been magnificent the whole year. I like the Astros in 6 when it started. I'll stick with that.
Well, home field to me in baseball doesn't really mean much, and we've seen it again in this series. It really doesn't. So I know everybody thinks, gee, there's no way Philadelphia could go on the road and win 2. Well, yeah, they could. As you said, Houston, I picked the Astros in 5. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But the bottom line is you and I both thought the Astros were the better team. And, through these games, they have really been the better team. The question is, can they finish it off? And I thought Dusty Baker made a great point the other day. When someone asked him about the Hall of Fame, he goes, hey, I got over 2,000 wins. I have to win a World Series to get into the Hall of Fame. And I'm paraphrasing here, but, win or lose, I mean, Dusty is one of the best that we've had in this game. I think that they ought to make a movie about Dusty Baker. I think his life story is fascinating. I think what he's accomplished in his career is fascinating. I think what he's done off the field, and what he learned. And I talked to him about this on my podcast, playing in the Deep South and going through that period of time in the late 60s and being around Hank Aaron and the influence that Henry Aaron had on his life is fascinating. Dusty, like you and everyone else, I think everyone's rooting for Dusty Baker except for the people in Philadelphia.
Yeah, what's interesting too about that, he's so calm and relaxed, as we know. When you think booing him in Philadelphia or it's like after what I've been through and seen in baseball, meaning Dusty, all these decades, I don't think people complaining about a trash can that he wasn't there for. He's been the perfect guy for the Astros. And to talk about that Hall of Fame he's talking about, 5 different teams he's taken to playoffs. 5.
Yeah.
So trying to, hopefully for him, it culminates in a World Series this time, but he is a Hall of Famer, and it couldn't happen to a better guy if he's able to push this through. I had him in 6 when the series started. And Grant, to validate your point about home field advantage, go back to the Washington Nationals and the Astros in that World Series. The road team won every game.
Yep.
The home team did not win a game. So here we are again with a chance to do it. We'll see if they can do it at home. I'll be in that building tomorrow night. With Mattress Mac, mind you, for $75 million. He's with $75 million sitting on the line for him. He's got 2 games to get it. So I hope for him and Dusty it happens.
So you'll be at the game, huh?
I will.
Wow. All right. If you could be at either the Tennessee-Georgia game or Alabama-LSU, which one are you choosing?
I would have chose Tennessee at Georgia. The irony of it, I had tickets to the LSU game as well, Grant, the Alabama-LSU game. My boss is going, and He had tickets if I wanted them, but it just fell on the same day as the World Series. So I think the LSU game is going to be huge. With 2 touchdown dogs at home, man, did they rise up the committee's board in a hurry? They're sitting at 10, and 3 weeks ago I was like, well, what? And here they are. And Brian Kelly's got his team going, and they haven't even peaked yet. So I think this is a dangerous game. If you're a bettor, I would take LSU at home with 2 touchdowns and a night game in Baton Rouge. But I would probably go to Georgia first because I actually think Tennessee, if they'll play fast, and Grant, you know this over the course of sports, the tendency is when you go somewhere you haven't been in a while. Josh Heupel, the Tennessee Volunteers, you're going into Athens, Georgia. You're the number 1 team in the country. What's the tendency is, we're that team. Let's not do anything to lose this. Let's kind of keep it close to the vest. Screw that. Do what you've done all year. Cut it loose, play fast, make Georgia adjust to your tempo. They want you to run 70 plays, not your normal 85 or 90 plays. I hope that Josh Heupel doesn't back off one bit because I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I like Tennessee to get inside that number 2 because I think their offense can flat-ass play. We're going to find out just how physical they are, but quite frankly, with their schedule and what they've done, I see why they're the number 1 team in the country right now.
Pretty fascinating games tomorrow. There is no question about that. All right, last night, obviously all eyes in Houston were on the Astros, and so you saw the crowd, and listen, the Texans are a terrible team this year. They got the opening kickoff, and they went right down the field, and it looked good. Short week, I thought that had something to do with it, but Philadelphia is Philadelphia. Did you take anything away from that game last night, Sean?
I took it that Philadelphia found a way to grind through a short week win when everybody expected them to beat the Texans by a wide margin. But it held true last night. One, the grind of Philadelphia and the continued excellence of Jalen Hurts, who's proving that he has made, of all the guys in the league that have enhanced their ability to get a huge deal, I'm talking about in just 2022, there's nobody who's enhanced and maximized the opportunity and turned it into an elite quarterback and franchise guy than Jalen Hurts this year, especially when they went into this season and people are still wondering, is he the franchise guy? Oh, he is. Makes great decisions. He can beat you with his arm and his legs. Only rushed for 20-some yards last night and still beat him. This is a phenomenal player who's going to get paid huge. His quantum leaps have been special.
Yeah.
But, they didn't play their best game. They found a way to get it done. They gave up a lot of rushing yards, and the Texans did what they do, show you flashes of brilliance, and then unfortunately make a stupid decision here about 6 to 8 plays a game, and that's what separated last night. And so they did what they did. They kept it close, but they ended up losing, and moral victories don't happen. There were some things to like, but Philadelphia beat teams they're supposed to beat. They're beating teams that are supposed to compete with them. They took care of their business. I had a big problem with Brandon Cooks, though, last night. I did. Big problem with him not sure. I thought it was a cowardice, weak-ass. We're to the point in society now that you can look and say, it's not because a wife's having a baby or you're sick or somebody got sick in your family or you had to fly to see a parent who was in the hospital. I get all that.
Yep.
That's a safe space. Well, I'm frustrated that I didn't get traded. You know what? Pardon my French. Fuck player empowerment when it comes to this. I'm tired of it. I'm all about hearing them. And I understand his frustration. He wants to go to a winner. You're $18 million under contract. You have teammates that are relying on you. And your frustration kept you home. Oh, no. Bush League and a coward bitch-ass move last night. That's what that was. For a guy that I like. It's not personal for me. But hell, he made it personal for his teammates. Who does that to a teammate when you're fit and ready to go and healthy because you're frustrated? I'd dock him his pay. He wouldn't have got a check for last night. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're going to move away from football for a couple of moments, and I'm going to piggyback on what you just said, talking about a guy that's not going to be getting paid, and that's Kyrie Irving. I did a rant on this, and I've talked about this for months and months and months. I think Adam Silver has become a puppet for his league, and I think that his failure to come out and condemn players when it needs to be done by a commissioner has been, quite frankly, chicken shit, all right? I think he's stayed in his closet in his office for too far. And I think finally he came out and condemned a player, but in my opinion, it was a couple of days too late. I think the Nets handled this about as poorly as you can. But here's the other thing. The Nets threw a life vest and a life raft to Kyrie Irving, and he didn't get in it when he had a chance on Thursday morning. And it wasn't until after he was suspended that he came out with an apology. Here's the bottom line, in my opinion, Sean. This was a black eye for the NBA this whole week. This was a horrible week for the NBA.
You know what else, Grant? And you make a great point. Listen, Kyrie Irving to do what he did and then apologize. So he obviously knows he did something wrong. 5-game suspension, right, Grant?
Yep.
Now
At
think
least.
about this. And they said right, at least. Think about a 5-game suspension for Kyrie Irving. And then you say, so he can go get himself right. So all of a sudden, in 5 games, he's going to get himself right and get back to getting paid after heinous remarks that he made. Come on, man. I don't understand. And that goes back to player empowerment. And I think it was Bradley Beal who doesn't like player empowerment. He said the league needs to basically, and I paraphrase, control. They were players, basically, that we shouldn't be running the league. I guess I'm paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? And Bradley Beal gets it. I understand. I'm not talking about opinion. There's a difference between opinion and overloading your mouth with your ass like Kyrie Irving did. And you're exactly right. You're held to a standard, and the commissioner, I don't care that your players are there and they want one thing. You're the boss. You're the CEO. You have a responsibility to make sure you stop stuff like this. And it almost feels like they've gotten too buddy-buddy with the players in ownership and the NBA in the commissioner's office. He's really good because he's established relationships, but it can't be, hey, I'm your best buddy. Here's what I'm going to do. We'll let you back in. There's got to be that respectful fear of a commissioner that I'm not sure players have in this league.
I talked about this more than, it was 2020, the summer of 2020, when Deshaun Jackson made his anti-Semitic comments. And Mitch Albom, the renowned author from Detroit Free Press and many books, wrote about how many people remained silent through that whole thing. And Mitch wrote a phenomenal story. And he said, you cannot be selective with your noise, not against hate. And I've talked a lot about this. Our country, and I'm going to pick on LeBron James here because I think he is one of the worst proponents of this. He is selective with his noise when it comes to hate. And I thought it was great that Tuesday night on TNT, former player Reggie Miller called the players crickets for not speaking out about this subject. No one has spoken out with the exception of one player, Robin Lopez of the Cavaliers. You and I both know if this had to do with racism, everyone would be speaking out. There would be an uproar. It would be, I'm a little concerned once again about the silence, about the crickets from all the players in the league on something that is so damn important. And we're talking about anti-Semitism. That bothers me, Sean.
It should. We want to bring Brittany Griner home, right? With Golden State Warriors, we're announcing it at center court when they got their rings, and people are all over. Players come to the always. You're exactly right. And Mitch Albom, who's as gifted a writer as we have on the planet, and we have selective criticism in some ways, and we have selective criticism from players upon players in another. Maybe I'm wrong, but did I miss LeBron James talking about Kyrie? I didn't, did I? Did he make comment about it? Have I missed it?
Nope.
Okay, let's even go to the Stars. His other team. Did KD comment on it?
Nope.
Kevin Durant? Oh, okay. All right. Did Luka Doncic comment on it?
Nope.
He hasn't. Joel Embiid, James Harden.
Nope.
My guy, who's my center for the Nuggets, the MVP,
Nikola Jokic? Nope.
Yeah. He hasn't either, right?
Nope.
He has the Joker hasn't said anything.
Nope.
So my point. Well, Pat Riley, he said anything? Well, okay. I'm just rolling through them, right? I'm just kind of checking in, wondering what's going on. So you're exactly right. And to the point is, you can't. You hate is hate all the way around, and it exists. And unfortunately, superstars run most leagues now, and they sure as hell run the NBA. And good point. Steve Kerr talk about this. I haven't heard Steve's. How about Draymond? He say something about it?
Nope.
He said a word? Okay. Nope. Steph? Yeah, okay.
Nobody.
I was just checking. Just making sure. Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
All right. Let's get back to the field. Somebody's got to win unless it's a tie in Tampa. I think two of the
Hang on one second, Grant. I didn't mean to interrupt you. We had a comment on here. I don't want to leave in case of this. He said KD did comment on the Irving situation. I don't know what he said. Do you know what he said?
He did comment on it. I want to say on Monday after Kyrie Irving's press conference, he was asked about it and he did comment, but he didn't comment, and I'm paraphrasing here and I'm doing this off memory. It wasn't condemning anything that Kyrie said. It wasn't that. It was almost like, I want to say he's entitled to his opinion, blah, blah, blah. And, he said what he had to
Right.
say, and he spoke about it, and it was that. So, but yeah, I appreciate you getting to that
I didn't mean to interrupt.
message
Yeah, and
on the
I'm all
screen.
about forgiveness too, about stuff like give forgiveness and remorse and all that. But sometimes you got to think about what you're saying before you say it. So we'll
All
leave
right.
it at that.
All right. Let's get to a game in Tampa where, barring a tie, someone's got to win. Two of the more disappointing teams in the NFL this year, the Rams at the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs, are they really going to lose 4 games in a row? They're playing like they could, especially on defense. That's number one. And number two, Sean, how bad does this look for Todd Bowles? Seriously, what's different about the Buccaneers this year other than their head coach, right?
A few early injury. Gronkowski gone and a couple offensive linemen.
Great point.
Injury and
Great point.
Gronkowski gone.
Great point.
And a couple of their offensive linemen retired and or hurt. And it looks like it. It looks like they're suffering from it. Normally they're a step ahead of everybody on their decisions on and off the field with Brady. That ball goes out quicker. The guy makes the catch. Somebody's in a window. Now it feels like they're a step behind. So that is the difference. And yeah, I mean, they Todd Bowles, who is so highly regarded in the league, was supposed to just keep this thing going. He and Byron, and they're come back and they're hungry. There's a lot going on there. I think that Tampa can still, let's say they lose. Yep. They can still win their division because the division's weak. On the other side of it, if the Rams lose with Seattle and with the way the 49ers now getting McCaffrey, I'll say this, if the Rams and Packers lose this week, neither one are making the playoffs. I'm not sure either one are making it anyway. But I still give Tampa a chance because the NFC's fairly weak depth-wise, and the NFC is also NFC South is a very subpar, eye-rolling division.
All right, I agree with you about their offensive line. You and I talked about that leading into week 1. Rob Gronkowski, great point. But that doesn't explain how ineffective their defense has been. And we both thought at the beginning of the year that the defense would really carry this team. We thought their defense would be, one of the best in the NFL. Their defense has been anything but close to the best in the NFL.
I can't fathom that their defense is going to not dominate people, right? I'm to the point where they're the ones who got to carry it. Now there's been times when you sit there and say, man, that's a loaded defense. It's a February defense. The question is, can they keep carrying a team that when they only score 20 or 17 points? I think the whole thing, it feels like, you know what it feels like? Grant, have you had a vehicle, I know I did growing up, where you turn the ignition off and it's still, you know how it clicks and rocks and won't shut off all the way? I feel like when I'm watching it, they're kind of like, it's kind of just rocking around, but you can't shut off bad plays and go to something good. It's just kind of there, and it's distraction, and they're not playing it, and it's not running smooth. And you can't turn off or on smooth. And maybe it's a bad analogy, but me, every time I see it, I say, yeah, that thing where it's like, okay, are we putting the gas on? What's going on here? And to me, this is an offense and a defense that doesn't look anything like a division winner, let alone a playoff team.
This is an interesting question. Sean, what's the trend of NFL teams passing up field goals now and going forward on 4th down, especially down by 10 or early in the game? Why not put points on the board? I hate analytics.
All analytics is in the NFL is studying tape and tendencies. It's evidence, what it is in every sport. I don't live by that alone. I am with you. I don't get it. We got this thing. I think, first of all, it's the macho ego pride thing saying, you know what, this is my offense. And they look at it and say, well, the percentage of going forward on this as opposed to this is points. And yet in the end of the game, you'll say, well, the analytics told me that we're supposed to go for it, yet we fucked it up and didn't get a first down and left a 40-yard, 38-yard field goal on the board and got beat by 3. So I am with you. I understand. I don't chase points, but I understand on 4th and a half a yard after a penalty you want to go for. I get it. Especially depending on how the situation the game's going. But early on when you're feeling your way and trying to get things going, I'm so tired. Well, this is what it tells me. Well, something also tells me that maybe that team that's dominating you at the line of scrimmage on 4th and 8, maybe you just kick the field goal and we'll see how the trend goes later on. We have gotten to the point where it's the hot shot, go for it, look at a stat, and then you find your ass sitting at home during the playoffs. I don't mind analytics as long as it's not 100% analytics. Every now and then we ask our football players to go make me a play on stuff I can't teach when all the shit goes to hell in a handbasket. And it's the same with coaches. Yep. Every now and again, dude, the 6 to 8, put the card down, be a football coach and say, it's 4th and 7. This is going to be a grind. Let's kick this field goal so so we don't look back and regret what some card told me I'm supposed to do. If that's the case, then just get rid of your kicker and go for it every friggin' time. So, yeah, I'm with you. The analytics have helped the game, but also have gotten people so caught up in we're playing like robots, and I'm tired of it.
Sean, help me out here with your expertise in playing in the NFL, because I've talked a lot about this the last couple of weeks. DeAndre Hopkins last year for the Cardinals gets hurt after the Cardinals were really the story of the NFC, and they had a quarterback in Kyler Murray that people were talking about as an MVP. Hopkins leaves the field, and Murray looks like he's never played before. Horrible. Same thing this year. Now Hopkins is back, and the Cardinals are scoring. We look at the Green Bay Packers now that the Devontae Adams is no longer there with Aaron Rodgers. They don't look anything like the same offense. I watched Cincinnati play the other night, and you look at Burrow and the Bengals without Jamar Chase. You talked about Gronk, albeit he's a tight end, not a wide receiver. Is the wide receiver position, is that number one guy, Sean, truly that important? I mean, I'm not underestimating, I'm not devaluing a wide receiver. I understand how important they are, but how can an offense fail significantly with one player who's a wideout being off the field?
Grant, I think that's an awesome question. I ponder it all the time. I asked this question about a year ago to Steve Palazzolo, who's the senior analyst for Pro Football Focus. We were talking about the draft and guys that are on the field when they're judging and going through all their grading players. I said, it used to be quarterback, left tackle, middle linebacker, edge rusher, and it's kind of like the what you need to build a franchise and what's going to help you win. So I asked him, I said, aside from quarterback, what's the most important position on the field now? When I say important, meaning difference maker that you got to have. And to their analytics and their study and doing, Steve Palazzolo said wide receiver. And It used to be you had three decent ones. You didn't need a home run one, right? You have three good ones that aren't not one special, but three good. And you're like, okay, we can survive with this. And he said, well, if they have just one special one, can't you take the one guy away and beat a team if you don't have three? And I always say, when I'd rather have one stud offensive lineman or five good ones that are in unison, I'll take the five linemen. But I think stats are starting, you just named them, starting to bear out comfort zone, the crutch you may lean on, what it does to defensive coordinators when Jamar Chase is out. If Jefferson misses in Minnesota, watch production go down, Grant. It's odd. It really is. So when Steve Palazzolo said that, I thought about it. I thought, look what it's done for Jalen Hurts. Bring in A.J. Brown. Bam.
Huge.
Look what it's done for Tua and Tyreek Hill. For whatever reason, and then they got the Waddle, and you got Devontae Smith in Philadelphia, Waddle in Miami. So while I want to resist it a little bit, Grant, I'm not so sure that if you're a team, because we didn't used to take, remember when Irving Fryer was the first pick of the draft out of Nebraska, Grant, the only receiver other than Keyshawn ever to go for, right? Well, you think about it now, playing in this era, I'm not so sure if you think Jordan Addison's the best player in America at SC, that coming out. I'm not so sure that you don't say, screw it, man. I'm not taking that guy. It'll make my quarterback better. So,
hey, Sean,
I know what you're saying. So, trip, man.
I know what you also wanted to say. And look what it's gone for Derek Carr. Look what it's done for Derek and my Raiders. But you didn't get it. It's that to me is so puzzling.
It hadn't done a damn thing for my Raiders, right? Yeah, and they got three, Waller and Renfro, 100-catch guy, and Devontae Adams, and those guys can't throw up right now. So what the hell? Yeah, there's the aberration. What a shocker. And it has to be right on the Raiders, right? Thanks for bringing that up and ruining my Friday. I appreciate it.
Well, your weekend might be solved tomorrow with, watching the Astros win it all and that city going off the hook. Speaking of the Raiders, I just wonder, because this is a failed season, their season's done, and I still think it's going to spiral downwards. I don't see them, getting a rash of wins here. We got a very unpredictable owner in Mark Davis. I mean, I don't see them making a change at the coaching position, but they have a decision to make on Derek Carr. I mean, this has been a failure this year, plain and simple, a big time failure, when most people thought the Raiders would elevate and build on what they did last year when they were in the playoffs. You pick up Devontae Adams, the huge offseason move, and they have regressed. What do you think is going to happen with this team?
And think about that, Grant. You mentioned the Arizona stuff. I'm about over the Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray combo. How many they've had? What now? We're going 4 years now.
That's right.
When's that going to happen? Because it just flashes, and they're just kind of up and down, and they're just guys right now. And I hate to say it because I like them both, and I like Cliff, but when are they going to elevate? And I know during the regular season they've gotten better every year, but it doesn't look like that this year. The Raiders, Grant, I'm starting to wonder is it Carr, or how did they get worse? How did their passing game bring it over what many thought was the best receiver in the league in Devontae Adams, not named Cooper Kupp, and get worse? Is it the coach? Is it the buy-in? Is it the play calling? Is it there? And no offense, I don't want to hear the bullshit of, well, it's a new system. Veteran quarterbacks shouldn't take 9 or 10 weeks to fit into a new system, plus a friggin' offseason. I'm just this isn't rookie shit anymore. So whether it's the quarterback, the lack of production, the buy-in, or Josh McDaniels just being better at being a coordinator as opposed to being a head coach and a coordinator, we're going to find out. And at first I thought 2 or 3 coaches may be fired this year. You want to roll through the list start thinking 6 or 7 or 8 of them, and they're all going to stand in line and say, is Sean Payton available? That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
That's a good question. Jeff said, well, Hill leaves the Chiefs and Mahomes still wins. Well, very true.
There's the outlier. There's the outlier, though. I got news for you. If Tyreek Hill was there, they'd be better. Their offense would be more explosive. Why do you think they went out and got Kadarius Toney? They're looking, not that he's Tyreek Hill, they want that extra home run hitter because Andy's going for it, right? So, but they do have Kelsey, who's one of the greatest crutches in the world to lean on. And the difference is they also have an alien at quarterback, okay? He's not your average. This is a freak, all right? So I could play slot for him and catch 75 balls, and I can't move 3 yards. So, yeah, you're exactly right. There's an aberration and an outlier in everything, and Patrick Mahomes could probably take 4 dudes that never played it down at a college and turn them into 80, 90 catch guys, even though I'm not diminishing how good his receiving core is. That speaks volumes to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy, and what they do offensively.
You talked about Tyreek Hill a moment ago, and we talk about Tua, and obviously he missed a few weeks with the concussion, but boy, he has really been on this year. When you watch and review his game, what do you think has been the biggest jump that he's made this year, Sean?
He is throwing, first off, Grant, he's finally with a coach who offensive attack-minded, right, who knows the run game and didn't put all of it on him. And in the process, he's playing like an MVP when he plays. They went and got him weapons. That's the biggest change. They're protecting the passer. But for him individually, he's healthy. He doesn't have a hip problem. He finally get a full seat, and he's not. So if you want to tell me the excuse of a new system, then why is Cousins excelling with his first coach with Kevin O'Connell in a new system? Why is Tua excelling when everybody said, "Oh, Tua, we got to find a new quarterback"? So for me, it's the accuracy, Grant, protection, play it, run after the catch, the guys that are getting open in separation. But look at his throws on time, with accuracy. And he recognizes his weakness, which he can't throw it late down the middle. It ends up in somebody else because he's not a physical freak, but he's throwing on time and trusting throwing to grass and throwing people open. How's this for irony? The MVP, if he plays all the season, maybe in the AFC, Josh Allen, but Tua's there. He's got them, and Jalen Hurts, 2 Alabama guys that everybody going into this season said both of them need to find a new franchise guy. Well, it looks to me like they both found it. And don't tell me coaching and play calling and weapons don't matter, because they sure as hell do.
And, boy, I love what they did at the trade deadline. I think getting Bradley Chubb was a huge pickup for the Miami Dolphins, huge. And they get some depth at running back with a player that Mike McDaniel knows very well in Jeff Wilson. So I thought the Dolphins, they were great this week on the market.
They're not sitting around waiting. The good team. Look at some of the good teams. Look what and Jeff on here wants to know what the best NFL trade this week. Take a look at teams that went out and said we're going to and then they gave Chubb a monster contract. They need a disruptor and an edge rusher. They got it. The Hines, who's got unbelievable speed in Buffalo, giving Josh Allen another weapon. You get Roquan Smith, who is a friggin' monster, playing linebacker in Buffalo to try to bring, or playing linebacker in Baltimore, trying to bring back that defense the way they wanted. And then there's McCaffrey. Look at the difference he made, even with Debo not on the field. I think, Jeff, to answer your question, they're all big. To me, Chubb in the long run possibly, but McCaffrey, because Jimmy Garoppolo and that team needed another weapon, and they got one. Now coordinators are going to be scratching their head trying to figure out, how do I top Debo and McCaffrey coming out of either the same backfield or in the slot? Gives Kyle Shanahan more options. I'm going to go with that because I think he's going to be the difference in them winning the division over Seattle.
And, you just talked about the Ravens and the pickup they made, and that's a division that not nearly as good as we thought it was going to be. And now Baltimore, they're just such a well-coached team. They're a dangerous team, and they have the X factor in Lamar Jackson in a big game because of what he can do. Keep your eye on the Ravens to me in the second half of this season.
If you said, Sean, from right now, who do you want to bet on in a futures bet or the second half of the season that we're going live now and you got to bet it, I would take Baltimore right now too, because I don't trust the offense. I trust Burrow, but with Chase out, I do not trust the offensive line of Cincinnati, even though they got, 4 new starters.
Yep.
But Burrow's getting hit too often. Lamar can step out of a lot of those, and they designed stuff to get him there. Joe can't keep taking these hits. Although he's special, Cincinnati looks different to me right now.
They do look different. So as we wrap this up, you think if the Rams lose or the Packers lose this week, they're done, right? You don't think they're making the playoffs?
I'm not even sure they're in it now, Grant.
Okay.
If the NFC was better, if the NFC had their normal season, they'd be done. But the Pack, because Rodgers and Stafford and they've got players, you got to say it. But I think the Rams are way too finesse offensively, and I think that the Packers, quite frankly, just aren't very good offensively. And we've all the years that Aaron Rodgers has had the cat swallowing the canary smirk like, I got this. Look at his reactions now. It's no longer it's almost the reaction of, ooh, I can't catch that bird now. I'm the cat. What's going on here? And you hear every week, we got to do better. We got to do better. Tell me when they're going to come out of it. Now, listen, they play Detroit, Grant? They better win this game, but I'm going to tell you, let Detroit hang around late, and they'll score. They'll move the football. They always do. Green Bay's got to win. There's no friggin' way they can lose this again. And when I say that, but yeah, Rams, Packers lose, out. Tampa Bay, because of their division, may still be in.
24 hours from now, you will be at the ballpark. Can you just imagine the anticipation of what tomorrow's going to be like in that city? And if the Astros do win and the jubilation on Dusty Baker's face and that post game, I mean, what an epic night this could be, or epic weekend if they don't win game 6. It's going to be unbelievable.
No question, Grant. And one last thing about that. There's still that little bit of, we're so tired of, I'm talking about from the fan and media, the fan base and media. The players move. Players get over shit far quicker than fans and media do.
Yeah,
over a loss, over controversy,
absolutely.
over getting cussed out in the ballpark. Players just move on, and it's like, yeah, okay. And they wonder why players smile after a loss. Well, guess what? Because we know that we've always been told to get over it and move on, and get over a win and move on. Yep. Fans, it festers. So the one thing that still is, they're tired of broadcasters bringing it up, fans bringing it up, trash cans. Not that they need validation, but it's almost we told you, pricks, that we can still win a World Series without you saying it's because of trash cans. So we got good players. And lastly, Grant, no Charlie Morton, no Garrett Cole, no Joe Musgrove, no Carlos Correa, no George Springer. And they got a rookie shortstop who damn well may be the MVP of this World Series as well. Yep. It's phenomenal how they just keep retooling. Hopefully they'll get it done tomorrow night, but it's going to be crazy. This is a baseball city right now, not a football town.
Sean, have a great time at the game tomorrow, buddy. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday.
I always love it, brother. Thank you. Have a good one. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. That's Sean Salisbury. Really good stuff, as always, right here on my YouTube live channel. And, of course, this show is brought to you by New Works Plumbing of Sacramento. Locally owned for over 20 years, New Works has a fix for you. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. All right, why don't we go to the local scene and talk about the Sacramento Kings with Rhino in Sacktown, or Ryan in Sacktown is a Twitter handle, and you can find him, right? Rhino in Sacktown. How are you, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing today? Great conversation with Sean.
He's awesome, man, isn't he? I love talking to Sean. All right, so the Kings have had a few days to think about that horrible non-call at the end of the game in Miami, and they take on Orlando, who, wouldn't you know it, they're coming off their second win of the year, beating the Golden State Warriors the other night. But I don't like to call games in November kind of must-win games. But based on what happened the other night in Miami, this is a game you absolutely have to win, period.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Grant. They have to win this. And Miami's banged up. They've got starters out. Cole Anthony is not going to be playing. You got Markel Fultz not playing. Gary Harris not playing. That's going to put a lot of pressure on their stud rookie, Pablo Banchero, who's averaging 24 points a night. And if the Kings don't win this, they're going to have a rough stretch coming up next week. There's no
Oh
doubt.
boy.
And it will be silent in Sacramento.
Well, here's the other deal. The Warriors, okay, have not won a game on this trip. They play the Pelicans tonight, and then they don't play again until the Kings, where the Kings go from Orlando to San Francisco. And I don't think the Warriors will win tonight. That's not a team that I would want to be playing after they have had a winless road trip. So you're right about that. And then you come home after the Warriors and you play the Cavaliers, who only have one loss. So, yeah, the schedule's pretty brutal coming up.
Yeah, I would say the easiest game on the schedule coming up is going to be the Lakers, and they seem to be playing a little bit better after their water party after the first win. But yeah, they've got to win tomorrow night. There's no ifs, ands, ors about it.
Talking King says the Warriors are resting everyone against the Pelicans. Yeah, well, we're going to see. Steve Kerr said he's going to shake things up. He's going to change the lineup around. And, Steph, Clay, and Draymond are not playing tonight. And I think, and again, thank you for that, Albert, for talking about that. I had read that they were not going to play everyone. I didn't realize it was all of those guys. So, that says a lot right there.
Well, and think about the rest that they're going to get as well. That's going to be huge. So, I mean, it's a get right game for the Warriors as well. I mean, like you were saying, Kings coming into San Francisco, I would be really worried about that. But at the same time, I've said it many times, the Kings do play up to the level of their competition at times. And hopefully they can get a win tomorrow night and play up to the Warriors level.
Yeah, they're going to have to get a win tomorrow night, as you said. And, listen, if you can go 500 on a road trip, you'll take that. So if you can go 2-2,
Absolutely.
then that's okay. It's not great because I think you had a golden opportunity to beat Miami. But, all right, let's not get greedy. It's only the first week of November. If you can go 2-2 and be competitive, again, the last time was just a little less than 2 weeks ago. Sacramento gave up 89 points to the Warriors in their gym. They fought back in the fourth to try to make it competitive, but you're really not going to win if you're giving up 89 in the first half. So they know they can play with the Warriors. They just did. But first things first, Orlando tomorrow. Davion Mitchell, really good in Charlotte. I thought he kind of took a little bit of a step back in Miami. I'm really looking for him to get his rhythm going similarly to what we saw in the last several weeks of last season. I think that's really important for this team with the uncertainty with De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, Grant, it's imperative. And you don't know how long De'Aaron's going to be out. Bone bruises can be kind of funny, kind of like a sprained ankle. And, even if he does come back, he's not going to be at full speed. So, or it's unlikely he will be at full speed.
That's correct. Unlikely.
So, I think Davion's just got to get back in that groove. He hasn't played a ton of minutes this season. He had the great game in Charlotte, obviously, where he came off the bench and picked the team up. A little bit of regression last game against the Heat, but I think once he gets back in the flow of things, he's going to be okay. It's just picking the right spots and getting the ball moving. With the lineup we're going to have on the floor, let everybody touch it a little bit, get in the paint, and just get more free throws. I mean, we shot over 85% from the line, 12 of 14 against Miami, so let's get to the line a little bit more.
Wasn't it great to see the response from Keegan Murray's dad, who went to Twitter and said, hey, my son was not playing well. And, because there were a lot of people asking why he wasn't on the floor for a big stretch of the fourth quarter. And his father said, hey, my son was this, he was that, he wasn't playing well, blah, blah, blah. a little bit different than Marvin Bagley's father, huh?
Yeah, maybe Keegan's dad needs to start a consulting business for NBA players' fathers. Yeah, but Grant, coming from somebody that played college basketball, it's a completely different world once they get to the NBA because the fathers and the parents, they're given that access in college. They're down in the team rooms right after the games. The coaches are babying them because they don't want the player to transfer, especially now with the transfer portal. And now you get to the NBA, whole different ballgame. You are a professional. This is your job. And the parents don't have the access that they used to have.
All right, I want to wrap this up by going back to the situation in the NBA with Kyrie Irving. I think
Yes.
personally, this has been the worst week of Adam Silver's tenure as commissioner of the NBA. You think I'm being too critical?
No, I don't. I don't. I think that this has been a very difficult situation for them to handle. But when you have difficult situations, you need to put it on the front burner. And I have no indication that they drug their feet, but I would have liked the NBA to come out with some punishment instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to meet with him in a week." Why is it going to be a week? Because that just drags the story out, and you let the team suspend him. The NBA should have done something sooner, and now we'll see where it ends up. Hopefully, this is resolved, and we can stop talking about it because it's just not a good story. There's too much good things going on in sports right now.
Where is Bagley? He is in Detroit. He got hurt in the preseason, and it was such an unfortunate injury as he slipped on a wet spot underneath the basket, and also has a bone bruise on his knee. That guy you want to talk about somebody that's got rotten, horrible luck in terms of injuries. I mean, that was just like a freak type of an injury. He's close to coming back, but still waiting for him. So we'll see. Detroit, the Pistons are a team that feels good with Ivy, who they drafted. They got a lot of other nice young pieces. I still think they're a year or two away, but we'll see if Marvin Bagley can get on the floor soon.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody here in Sacramento wishes bad things upon Marvin Bagley, but it was sad to see during his tenure in Sacramento because he would start to kind of get rolling a little bit. You'd see the positive, and then it's a hip strain. And it's a back problem, and he just couldn't get going.
All right, so the Kings, 2 more games on this road trip at Orlando tomorrow against the Warriors on Monday, and then they come home and they take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. This on the chat line, Adam Silver's worst week is every week. The guy has ruined the league with all of his goofy and unnecessary rule changes. Well, you're wrong. He hasn't ruined the league. The league is thriving. The league is making a ton of money. And by the way, Adam Silver is not the one that makes the rule changes. There is a rules committee. It has to be voted on. It has to be approved. So, your text, as much as we appreciate it, you're way off base. Way off base.
Agreed. Like you said, competition committee does make the changes. Those are voted on. He is by far not the worst commissioner in sports, in my opinion. And has he made mistakes? Sure. But so have other commissioners. I mean, I think the initiatives that they've rolled out there have been a little bit too much, and those have been the bigger mistakes in Adams' tenure.
Somebody wants to know, did Francisco Garcia get injured by a popped exercise ball one time? Yeah, he did. It was very serious. He had weights in his hand, and the ball popped. And yes, he did get hurt. And that was actually a really scary moment in the Kings training facility. So, if you want to talk about freak injuries, that was a freak injury. Hey, Ryan, I hope you have a great weekend. We'll talk again on Monday before the Kings do indeed take on the Warriors. Enjoy all the games this weekend, my friend.
Can't wait. Thanks so much, Grant. You as well. Have a great weekend.
All right, take care. Good stuff right there. Don't forget that coming up in just a couple of minutes, I will be on Listen App, and you can call in on that show. Harry Giles. Yeah, Harry had his injuries, though, before he got into the NBA. He had torn the ACL in both knees before he ever entered the NBA, and that's why he fell in the draft. Had it not been for his knee injuries, most people had projected him coming out of high school as the number 1 overall pick in the NBA. So, yeah, but he had some terrible luck with his injuries before he even got drafted into the NBA. All right. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Really appreciate your support. And World Series tomorrow, college football tomorrow, the NFL, a lot of things going on. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for checking us out right here on If You Don't Like That with Grant Napier. Back Monday at 3 o'clock to go over everything that happened this weekend with Sean Salisbury and Ryan in Sacktown. That's on Monday. Make it a good one. So long, everybody.